Thanks, Ryan. Great music to kick us off from Vicky Sampson. Welcome to everybody. I know we'll have more and more people joining the session, but we'll keep to time and looking to kickstart. So, hello everyone, and thank you for joining us. I'm Keith Rosmarin, and I lead Bepesa's skills portfolio. We have an incredible skills ecosystem, and we're always on the lookout for opportunities to build and fast-track in-demand skills and capabilities in our sector. And today, I'm delighted to welcome you to the session spotlighting the UN Global Goals 2030 Africa Scholarship and the opportunity for Bepesa members to leverage. As many of you know, our recently concluded GBS skills needs analysis highlighted a number of skills gaps and pain points, including the pressing need to strengthen leadership capabilities in sector verticals, deepen digital fluency, and harness next wave tech skills like advanced data analytics, AI, cybersecurity, and automation, I think especially, as we navigate this era of accelerated digital transformation. In addition, as I've got to know the sector over the last 10 years, many of our sector's current managers and executive leaders started their careers on the call center floor, giving them unmatched operational insight. This scholarship offers us the chance to keep building that from the ground up leadership pipeline at scale, while also boosting the professional standards that global investors look for when choosing an offshore partner. There's also growing global recognition that experienced professionals who never had the chance to earn formal qualifications can make a substantial leap forward by completing industry recognized programs while they work. According to the 2025 WEF World Economic Forum Future of Jobs report, over half of all employees will need reskilling by 2025 to keep pace with rapidly shifting technologies. And recent research findings suggest that employees who completed accredited qualifications mid-career can see up to a 20% faster progression into leadership roles. In other words, learning while earning has become a proven strategy for both individual career acceleration and organizational performance. By formalizing experience through business valued qualifications, employees, managers, and leaders not only enhance their prospects, they elevate the overall skills profile and credibility of their teams. The scholarship is designed to fund accredited courses, both local and international, aimed at upskilling everyone from entry-level agents to senior managers, employed or unemployed, to meet these very gaps identified by the sector. And for organizations, the scholarship value proposition is impressive. Huge discounts and subsidies that are available, and more from that later from Kirshen. Kirshen is the Chief Executive Officer at the Graduate Institute of Financial Sciences, and he'll unpack the full scope of the Africa Scholarship and how you can leverage it. Think of it as an accelerator for talent, one that amplifies our sector strengths, cements our reputation for fast career mobility, and ultimately elevates South Africa's position on the global GBS market. Today, we'll introduce the scholarship, we'll provide an overview of the courses, we'll discuss key dates and milestones, and then we'll have some time available towards the end for a Q&A session, which Lynn will help facilitate with Kirshen and myself. Please use the chat function to introduce yourselves and your interest or questions about the program as we go in. And before we dive in, I'd like to just introduce Kirshen very briefly. Kirshen is a PhD and is the CEO of the Graduate Institute of Financial Sciences, known as GIFS. He became a CEO at the age of 27 and rebranded the organization in 2005 into the South African financial services education powerhouse it is today. Kirshen is a passionate philanthropist and educationalist, and I've always respected his immense experience and his drive to accelerate employment for young people in South Africa. Kirshen, we're looking forward to hearing more about the Africa Scholarship opportunity for our sector. Over to you.
Thank you, Keith. We just have a quick video to play and then we will kick off straight after.
Great.
You may wonder why I have not slowed down. Look around. Our continent needs all of us to build it so that it is greater, it is prosperous, and with Ubuntu, which is why I am so proud to be a patron of Global Goals 2030 Africa Scholarship. This scholarship will upskill the workforce that is at risk of losing jobs because of advancement in technology. It will also skill young people who are unemployed but ambitious and committed to build Africa. It will be important that in this program we create the Africa we want, and we use education to build Africa. Join us in this endeavor.
Thank you, everybody. I'm just hoping that everyone can see my screen.
We can, thanks, Kirshen. It's not in presenter mode yet. There we go.
Perfect. So thank you, Keith, and thank you to the BPESA team, and good morning to everybody on call. I think as Africa and as South Africa, we are completely elated by the Global Goals 2030 Africa Scholarship that has landed in our country and on African shores. And today I'm just going to unpack what this means. But as most of you on call today would know, that Global Goals has been started by the United Nations, where they developed 17 sustainable development goals. And these sustainable development goals were designed to bring government, business, and people together to one common vision and one common purpose. And 5 years left of our global goals and our ambitions. As a continent, we unpack where we stand in relation to the Sustainable Development Goals, and in particular, SDG 4, which is the Sustainable Development Goal for Quality Education. And unfortunately, South Africa and the African continent finds itself in a place where it is not capacitated or ready to handle complex skill set that the global north is wanting from us, which is going to give rise to things like talent wars, increased seat costs within the GBS sector, and also most likely preventing the GBS sector from landing these lucrative deals and having it lost to countries like the Philippines and India. So the Global Goals Africa Scholarship is a catalytic project to address those skill sets. And today I am honored and very privileged to be unpacking Global Goals 2030 Africa Scholarship with each of you. Now, United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres is a well-known face to all of us, and he has been a strong promoter of SDG 4 because he believes that not only does it allow you to empower yourself and build knowledge economies, it is also fundamental in sustainable development and peacekeeping efforts. Now, to unpack the Global Goals 2030 Africa Scholarship, I thought it would be best that I start by explaining what SDG 4 is a little bit. So as I mentioned to you, the Sustainable Development Goal 4 focuses on quality education to ensure inclusive and equitable education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. Now, under SDG 4, there are 8 targets that need to be met. The Africa Scholarship covers 5 of those 8 targets. And we will share this document with you for you to be able to peruse what these 5 targets are and how it impacts your organization. As you've heard from our former Deputy President and United Nations Executive Director for UN Women, she turned 70 in November, and she says, you may wonder why I have not slowed down, but look around. Our continent needs us all to build it with Ubuntu. And that's her call to action to everyone on call to ensure that we are building a capable skills force for the African continent. Now, to unpack Global Goals 2030 Africa Scholarship in a bit more detail, you must understand that the scholarship is only for macro employers, and macro employers are defined as organizations that have more than 500 employees in their employ. It is designed to ensure that their existing employees and their new employees keep pace with the global economy. So it is focused on upskilling existing employees with future fit skills so that they are able to handle complex work services. And similarly, it is used to build a talent pipeline for for new entrants into the market to build the talent pipeline. The scholarship is broken down into 2 parts, one being the local aspect and one the international. What it means is that if you register for local qualifications through approved learning partners, you will receive funding from 70% for that scholarship or for that program. And on the international programs, the scholarship value starts from 60%, which means that your contribution would either be 30 or 40%, from 30 or 40%, depending on where it goes. Now, to qualify as an employer, you need to obviously be a macro employer who has a proven track record in upskilling and creating employment. You need to have a focus on future fit skills. You must have a demonstrable history on regulatory compliance, leadership, innovation, and customer experience. But most importantly, you must be committed to your learners' success and supporting them through the coursework and allowing them sufficient time to execute on the relevant qualifications. Now, just to explain to you how it works, the funding window opened on the 15th of March and closes on the 9th of May 2025. All applications are done via globalgoals.com, and it is done on a first-come, first-served basis, meaning as your application hits, you will then be awarded or not awarded. The adjudication process is managed entirely by an independent adjudication committee in consultation with representatives from the United Nations and the African Union, in particular NEPAD. There are both accredited South African and international qualifications that are on offer. The amazing part of the scholarship is that the qualifications are offered asynchronously with online tutor support. So it completely matches with your organization's workforce. So you can choose when you would like to have your learners attend their lectures, how they will do it, because the program is an asynchronous online learning methodology. All feedback will be given to successful applicants by the 12th of May 2025, and all costs must be paid upfront following successful confirmation of your application. There is a compulsory onboarding session that takes place in May 2025 in Johannesburg, and all successful applicants will be in attendance. And in attendance will be stakeholders from Global Goals 2030 Africa Scholarship, including Dr. Phumzile Mlambo-Ngcuka, representatives of the United Nations, the African Union, the Financial International Business Association, NYDA, DTIC, and the Office of the Presidency. But most importantly, you get to engage with both your local and international universities and learning partners. All South African courses will commence in July 2025, and all international courses will commence in late August, early September 2025. Now, before I go and unpack all the qualifications that are on offer, what I would like to do is share with you the commercials. So I'm just going to quickly pull up my screen. And please, can I get a thumbs up or a yes that everyone can see the spreadsheet on my screen?
Not as yet, Kirshen.
Is it not sharing?
Or maybe it's mine. I'm seeing thumbs up.
Okay, I can see some
Carry
thumbs
on.
up. Okay, great. So the Africa Scholarship is broken up into two parts, one being local and one being international. On the local part, whatever the qualification is, the tuition fee agreed is 30,000 Rand with the local institutions, whether it's a higher certificate, a degree, a diploma, that is what the fee is. You have to have enrolled a minimum of 100 learners on the program, and the 100 learners can be across various qualifications. So you can choose some contact center programs, leadership programs, financial service programs, project management. As long as the number equals 100, that is how it would work. So as an
Kirshen,
organizer,
my apologies. We're just getting some text in the chat and not everyone can see the spreadsheet. Perhaps stop sharing it.
reshare.
Yes,
Okay,
please.
let's do that. Not a problem. Is this better?
Yep, that's it. Okay.
That's it.
Now we can see it. Thanks, Kirshen. I thought I was going crazy. Thank you.
All right. All right, so I can see a thumbs up. All right, great. So I'll restart. So on the local side, the maximum cap for tuition is 30,000 Rand. And you have to have a minimum of 100 learners across various qualifications. As an organization, you would be required to pay 3 million Rand. But because of the Global Goals Africa Scholarship, 70% of that cost will be covered by the scholarship, which equals 2.1 million Rand, meaning that you as an organization will only be responsible for 900,000 Rand, which equals 9,000 Rand a learner. And I'm sure most of you on call will agree that we can't even get an accredited skills program for 9,000 Rand in South Africa. So that's where the first win occurs. Now, as we move on to the international side, this is where it starts to get more exciting. Now, the international side is broken down into three parts. And the three parts are your high certificates, your advanced certificates, your diplomas, your undergraduate qualifications, and your postgraduate qualifications. Now, under the segment of undergrad, the tuition fees, as agreed with the scholarship fund, cannot exceed 50,000 Rand. And again, it is a minimum of 100 learners, but it's across any qualification. So you could have 10 people on a higher certificate, 20 people on an advanced certificate, 50 on a diploma, 20 doing an MBA, whatever the case might be, but it's you need to hit your cap. As an employer, you would have to pay 5 million Rand. But because of the scholarship, 70% of that is covered, which would mean that as an organization, you only pay 3.5 million, that the scholarship will pay 3.5 million Rand, which would mean that you as an organization will only pay 1.5 million Rand. And if you have to break it down, it works out to 15,000 Rand per learner. And again, you are receiving international qualifications at only 15,000 Rand. I know that we have a lot of experts in L&D on call, and you would understand the commercial viability of this. And that for 1.5 million Rand, you are trading 100 people on tier 1 international qualifications. But where it starts to get more exciting for me is, let's assume you put someone on a BSc in cybersecurity as an example. The unit cost per year is 680,000 Rand for that qualification. I don't know any individual or any employer that will be willing to pay 680,000 Rand a year for 4 years for an individual to achieve an international BSc. But the scholarship will cover 93% of that cost, which is 630,000 Rand. And you only cover 7%, which is 50,000 Rand for that particular qualification. Now, I'm going to sound like a very mark agent, but it actually gets better. And this is where it's most exciting for me, is on the postgraduate study side. On the postgraduate study side, the MBA costs R1 million a year, which is incredibly expensive. And obviously, because we are dealing with tier 1 institutions at an international level. Global Goals covers 95% of that cost, which is 950,000 Rand. And as an employer, you only cover 5% of it, which is 50,000 Rand. There is no local MBA that you can get for 50,000 Rand, nor an undergraduate qualification at 50,000 Rand. This shows how incredibly fantastic the scholarship program is, giving opportunity and funding for this program. But what excites me the most about it is, let's assume you want to do an MBA, but you don't have an undergraduate qualification, but you've been working in the industry for 15, maybe 20 years as a senior leader or as an executive. There's an element called matriculation. And what matriculation does, so don't confuse it with RPL. It's not like RPL. It's so much better. Matriculation means that there are 10 modules in the MBA degree that needs to be completed. Even if you don't have an undergraduate degree, you can apply to do the MBA. And if you pass the first 3 modules of that MBA, you get a postgraduate certificate in business administration. And then you are admitted onto the MBA. And then when you finish the next 4 modules, you have a postgraduate diploma in business administration. And when you finish your last 3 modules, you qualify with your MBA degree. So not only are you getting financial relief, you are also getting entrance relief into these amazing programs. Now, what is also exciting about it is, let's assume you have gone on and you have registered for the BSc in cybersecurity, which is a 4-year undergraduate degree. After year 1, you exit with a higher certificate in cybersecurity. After year 2, it's an advanced certificate. After year 3, it's a diploma. And after year 4, you get your BSc in cybersecurity. And if you look in the context of South Africa at the moment, there are so many people that have attended university and have left after first year or second year, third year, and have left with no formal qualification. This particular program allows you to exit at every level. And that for me is such a fantastic professionalization for our sector and for the continent. From an employee value proposition, I'm sure everyone's brains are already ticking as to how this is such great retention strategies, such great retention tools, but most importantly, how we are going to be bettering our knowledge economy as a country, as a continent, and as a sector. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to try and toggle back to the original presentation. And I just want to make sure that everyone on call can see it. Are you all able to see it?
Not as yet, Kirshen.
Okay, so then I think we're going to have to just do it this way.
Yep, that's up.
Okay, so now these are the different qualifications that are on offer from an Africa-wide perspective. These are the local qualifications. There's a host of legacy qualifications from your CETAs, occupational qualifications, some degree programs from higher education institutes, and some postgraduate qualifications that have become available. On the international side, there are certificates, there are higher certificates, there are advanced certificates, there are global certificates, there are diplomas, degrees, and postgraduate qualifications. So we will share the material with you so that you could go through and determine what you would like as an organization to use. Like, one of the programs that absolutely excites me on this is the postgraduate certificate in executive leadership, financial engineering, and quantitative solutions. This program is hosted by the Florida Polytechnic University. It is the #1 STEM university in the United States. And I think for me, I am incredibly honored to be able to share that with you, simply because this university is state of the art, the learning is state of the art, and the fact that we as South Africans and as Africans on the continent are able to participate in it, it's phenomenal. And at the end of the presentation, I'll just show you a picture of the building, which is absolutely phenomenal. And then, just because we're on the page, FMU, that is the Martin Luther King University, a tier 1 institution in its own right. And as South Africans, we are able to do this. And I think for me, what would be so exciting is if I could say that our global business services sector has a majority leadership that are MBA graduates. I think for me, that is something that is fantastic. I also just want to outline some frequently asked questions. And these are the fact that the funding window closes on the 9th of May. And as I mentioned, the applications work on a rolling basis. So as the applications come in, they are assessed and they are either approved or declined. And the reason why we have done this is to ensure that there is fairness across the board. Your applications are tracked completely online. So there's no telephone call or wonderful email that you can send to the adjudication committee to plead your case. So unfortunately, that doesn't exist. So you will be informed through the automatic process. This scholarship is not linked to any other funding window or opportunity. But what is amazing about this program is that you can claim this from your ESD spend, you can claim it from your skill spend. You can even have learnerships running on the local programs and claim back your learnership spend and your tax rebates on it and still qualify for your scholarship. So it's huge wins for the industry. The important point to note that this scholarship is not a free for all. And you need to be discerning about the people that you put onto this program, because there will be no refunds for learners who withdraw from the course. Also very important to note is that the program is asynchronous in nature, which is fantastic, where it doesn't impact operational time, but the online tutor support will be there to ensure that we are supporting the learners and the employers through the program. And equally, as an employer, you have a responsibility to make sure that you're managing your learners' throughputs, that your learners are committed and are supported through this learning intervention. And I think what is particularly important to us is that the Global Goals delivery partners is the Mlambo Foundation and the Graduate Institute of Financial Sciences. For us to be awarded this scholarship to be the delivery partners is a huge feather in the cap, not just for us, but for every single South African. It shows the ability of Africa, shows the ability of South Africa, and it shows that the international market trusts us And I think for us, that is such a big win and such a feather in the cap, not just for GIFS, but also for the wider financial services sector. Now, before we open up into the Q&A session, I'm just going to stop sharing my screen for a second because I want to show you the Florida Polytechnic building, which is for me the GIFS team and myself had the opportunity of visiting. And this is Florida Polytechnic University. This is the building. There were Apple Mac books that were in their libraries. There were no virtual books. It was the Apple laptops. They had skateboards where you would go through the different facilities. And this is what we have brought to the African continent and to you, is state-of-the-art learning from the best of the best in the world. And I think for me, I am absolutely proud of this initiative, and I look forward to your calls, your questions and calls after this. So I'm going to stop sharing now and open the floor to the Q&A.
Persian, I've just checked the chat. We don't have any physical questions from the chat. I think maybe this is going to be a live Q&A, so people can come on and ask their questions, but I don't currently see any question in the chat.
Okay, so please raise your hands and ask away. I see there's a hand up. Doreen.
Thank you.
Is it Doreen? Oh, no, it's Shanice.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for the informative session. I just have a few questions with regards to this scholarship program. So my understanding is that there's a split in terms of the costing. Am I correct up to that point? All right. So will the payments have to be done upfront?
Shanice,
Yes.
that's
And
correct.
then if a learner drops off, we don't get refunded as the employer for that learner?
That's correct.
All right. And then if, for example, I have read that we would have to provide all the learners with the necessary requirements that they would need to be on the scholarship. So in terms of laptops, internet access, printing of documents, all of that would be on the employer.
Shanice, that's quite correct. And laptops are not necessarily what is needed, as long as there's some sort of platform in which they can access and participate in the learning program, whether the organization has a LAN or dedicated computer space.
All right, I'm with you. Thank you so much for that clarity.
Pleasure, Shanice. I see Chanel's hand is raised.
Hi, good morning. Thank you so much, Dr. Pillay. That was a great informative presentation. I just wanted to check in terms of the number of learners. The minimum is 100. Can that be split across different programs? So can that be, a combination of a higher certificate and a degree and a postgrad, or does it have to be the same? Thanks.
Chanel, great question. And it can be a combination. So you could say that I'm putting 5 people on an MBA, 4 people on a BSc in information systems, 10 people on contact center agent or contact center manager. The split is left entirely up to you. You just need to manage your minimum threshold of 100. So remember, your minimum numbers are 100, and there's no cap on your maximum number to apply.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Are there any other hands that are up?
Perhaps just a question that I would like to ask as well. I think if obviously time is quite tight and there may be queries that individuals or organizations might have, or even around the advice around the completion of the application. Is that something that the GIFS team could also support with?
Absolutely. And as we end this, we will be putting our email addresses into the chat. So we have Brendan Ribeiro and Ruben Ingram on call. who will put their email addresses in to support the individuals. I see SS has their hand up as well, Keith.
Oh, sorry, I missed that.
Doc, it's Sidwell from Merchants. Thanks for the insightful presentation. I just wanted to follow through on the numbers question. You indicated the scholarship application will be online and it's on a first come, first served basis. So the question here, Doc, is if you get out of, many applications which get to be put through, you get 80 approved. Does it mean because you are below the threshold, then you can't participate in the scholarship program?
Sidwell, so to answer your questions, you're correct. So how the reason why we're doing this is because, well, not why I'm doing it, but why the adjudication committee is doing it, is because it's a global goals initiative, it needs to be equal opportunity for all. And whether you're a large provider or a smaller provider within the sector or within the continent, we want to give you equal access. So let's assume you are a smaller provider and you put in your application first for 200 learners. Your 200 is approved. But let's say someone puts their application on the 9th of May and they're a larger provider and they put in an application for 1,000. And they may get 0 because it was on a first come, first serve basis. So that's how it works. But your numbers are a minimum of 100. And if you are prorated, it would mean that like if you applied for 1,000 and you've got 100, or if you've applied for 100 and you've gotten 80 as you've used, it's because the scholarship fund has hit its threshold.
But that wouldn't.
I hope that answered the question.
Yes, it does. It does. Thank you so much. Just another question which I have as you're answering this one. It's with respect to the programs available. I see this is funding which is aligned to the SDG goals. Do you have in the programs offering anything related to sustainability, ESG, or SDG goals as part of the programs? I couldn't get to see that. I might have missed it in your presentation.
Yes, because this curriculum is linked to SDGs. In the learning curriculum, SDGs are highlighted as a must, particularly in your undergrad and your postgrad studies. So excellent question and quite correct. It is covered in that context.
Thanks for the question, Sidwell.
I see there's more hands raised.
Yeah, great stuff. Sorry, I got there. Annalise, please go ahead. You're on mute, Annalise. Thank you. Go ahead, Annalise. We can't hear you again. If you wouldn't mind just trying again, and otherwise we'll move across to Shanice. Annalise, if you can hear us and you have problems with your mic, perhaps just put the question in the chat for us. Shanice, over to you.
Sorry, guys. I just have one more follow-up question. I don't know whether I missed this in the presentation. However, is this something that we have to apply for yearly? Because I know, Kashin, you mentioned that, people would be able to articulate themselves year on year. And I saw in your costing model, it was just based off 1 year. So is this going to be something where you apply once and then you automatically get your 3 years covered or your 4 years covered, or does this have to be applied for yearly?
So Shanice, just to answer the question, I think it's a very good question. Unlike your traditional CETA programs, if you apply for a 4-year qualification, so let's say you're doing the degree, the undergrad, you would be covered for the full duration and you only apply once. If you are applying for a diploma, which is a 3-year program, you only apply once. If you are applying where you want to articulate year on year, like for example, if you are applying for the higher certificate this year, then next year you have to apply for the advanced certificate. And then the following year you have to apply for the next articulation pathway. So it depends on how you apply for the qualification. So if you're applying for the qualification as is, as in the full degree, then it will cover for the full year. If you're applying for the full, if you're applying for the year-long programs, you'll be funded for the year-long program.
Okay, so just so I can understand this, so for example, if you are doing a degree, it's 3 years, right? So each year,
Local is 3 years, international is 4.
right? So let's use international as an example. So each year, the scholarship will fund me 60%, right? And each year, my company would have to fund 40%.
No, so if you are doing the undergraduate degree, the scholarship will fund 93%, and you will fund, the employer will fund 7%. On the highest, on the diploma, the company will fund, the scholarship will fund 70%, and you will fund 30%. There's different, it starts from 60%, yeah.
Yeah. So I think I get that part. I think my question is just around the duration, and if year on year the scholarship will fund that percentage, and then my company or my employer has to fund that same percentage as well. That's what my question.
Oh yes, Shanice, correct.
Okay, thank you so much for that clarity.
Pleasure.
Kirshen, can I just hop in
go
quickly?
ahead, Lynn.
Thank you. Kirshen, I just wanted to see if there was time, if you could quickly screen up that application process so that people can just see what it looks like. It's easy to complete, so that people have a sense of how easy this is to do. And then the last question was around the rebates. So in other words, what are all of the rebates that are available from a taxation perspective? And maybe people could contact GIFS directly to understand that model a little bit better. I think it is significant in terms of what people can claim and benefit. And I thought that that maybe should come through a bit clearer.
Sure. I think with the rebates and all the additional supplementary methods where, in essence, as an organization, you pay a net zero effect, I think what would be best in that instance is if the individual entities contact us, because it will be separate on each for each organization. So I would highly recommend that we do it in that fashion.
Perfect. Thank you, Kirshen. I just wanted to make sure that people knew that that service was available to them when they come onto the program. Thank you for that.
Thanks. And then I will just share my screen so that we can go through and explain how the program works. So there's 2 tabs. So firstly, let's start with the learner application form. So let's assume that within your community, within your religious communities, within your friends and family groups, you'll have youngsters that may be wanting to be a part of this opportunity, but are not working, etc. They can go in and fill out the learner application form section and register to become a candidate. So as an employer is looking for unemployed individuals, they can choose from that particular pool. But what's more pertinent to you guys is the employer application form. So you would click here, but there will be a representative from GIFS that will take you through this, and you will go through it and answer the questions, which are quite simple, quite self-explanatory. And then this is where you actually put in information. It's a brief description of your upskilling initiatives within the last 2 years. So talk about what you've done in the last 2 years, very brief, under 250 words. You put it into this space bar, and That forms the first part of your application. Then you fill out your due diligence process on there, and then you go on to the scholarship part. This is the part where you put in your number of learners. And unfortunately, the only downside to this is you have to click these arrows, simply because we don't want people putting extra zeros in where they wanted 100 and they put in 1,000. So we don't want to mess that up. So let's say you go in, you've got 3 people that want to do a diploma in computer science. You then move over, you've got people that want to do a national certificate in wealth management. You then go down and you select, and you've got some people that want to do the MBA program. Then you've got people that want to do cybersecurity, and so on and so forth. And then you complete your unemployed application in the same fashion. Under supporting documents, it's a 2-page motivational letter outlining your large-scale upskilling initiatives and how you as an employer have contributed to creating employment, developing future skills for your existing staff, etc., and your leadership development initiatives. There is a template that you use for the motivational letter, which one of the team members will take you guys through, and a minimum of 2 contactable references that are reachable via email and telephone. So it could be learners, departmental managers, outside parties that have partnered with you guys on amazing programs, and the adjudication committee will commence with calling those individuals. And obviously this is exceptionally important, the POPI consent form, because what happens is once you complete the information, the learners' details will be shared, etc., with the various different learning institutions. And just on this part, I just want to highlight how the process is going to work. By the 9th of May, all your applications are in. By the 12th of May, every employer who was successful will receive their applications. Between the 22nd to the 23rd of May, there would be a in-person briefing session with all the Global Goal stakeholders taking you through the process. Once your acceptance letters are in, the finance teams will start invoicing you. By the end of June, or just before the end of June, your final learner lists will be due, and they will then be sent through to the universities and institutions. Once that is completed, you will then commence the program either in July or end August, early September for local and international programs. And once the admission forms are in and the learners have been admitted into the program, there are no changes that can be made to that. So as I said, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. Share it with deserving individuals. And I think that's me, unless there are any additional questions.
Want to check, Shanice, whether it's an old hand or a new question that you might have?
Sorry, that's an old hand, team. Sorry.
Good. No, all good.
Keith, as Anneli Siwe posted a question, is she able to come on now? Anneli Siwe?
So I think certainly if you have any more questions that come to mind, either today or of course over the next few days as well, please reach out. The email contact details are in the chat. Or if you miss those, you're happy for you to reach out to either myself or Lynn or anybody on the skills team. But Kirshen, just want to thank you for coming through today and telling the story really well. It's a great initiative, and I've certainly got my hand up to help anybody with carrying bags over to the Polytechnic in Florida, should that come to be. But yeah, I think it certainly is a really great, good opportunity, and looking forward to seeing how we can support. But if we'll certainly send through the recording of the session, plus the deck as well to individuals that have come through. And if there's anybody that might have missed the session, you've got any queries, please let us know if we can support in any way. Kirshen, thank you so much. Lynn as well. And we've given back a few minutes to your day, and look forward to seeing how things progress. And much appreciated. Have a wonderful day further, everybody.
Thank you, Keith, and to the BPESA team. We really appreciate you sharing the platform with us. And thank you for helping us educate a continent. We appreciate it.
Very exciting. Thanks all. Have a great day further.